was incredible.
The Galapagos Islands are known for their giant tortoises, which were plentiful at the time of discovery. Off the coast of Ecuador lie the volcanic islands of Galapagos Island, which were known for a number of species of plants and animals, which were nowhere to be found in the world. The Galapagos Island was also the source of Darwin's theory of evolution.
The Galapagos are famous for the large number of endemic species which was studied by Charles Darwin in the 1830s and inspired his theory of natural selection. All these islands are protected as part of Ecuador's Galapagos National Park and Marine Reserve. The islands were also previously known as Enchanted Islands. The group consists of 18 main islands, 3 small islands and 107 rocks and islets. The islands are also located at the Galapagos Triple Junction. So one of the most unique species of the world is now going to explain about the species in Galapagos Islands.
Most of the Galapagos is covered in semi-desert vegetation, including shrublands, grasslands, and dry forest. A few of the Galapagos Islands have high elevated areas with cooler temperature and higher rainfall, which are home to humid climate forests and shrublands. There are about 500 species of the native vascular plants on the island. 180 vascular species are endemic. There are a number of endemic species which are to be found.
The endemic species are giant tortoises, finches, cormorants, Galapagos lava lizard, and last, marine iguanas.
So now we're going to talk about the people found in the Galapagos Islands. The islands are located near the Pacific Ocean, so the human interference is very less as compared to the human interference around the world. The islands were discovered in 1535 but were vacant of humans until the 1800s due to their inhospitable terrain. In the 1920s, European and North American settlers began to arrive as well as Ecuadorians who came to fish and farm. Beginning to the 1930s, tourism and new fisheries brought more settlers. Along with these new economic activities, more and more people migrated to the islands. The Galapagos population has increased from roughly 3,000 in the 1960s to about 30,000 in 2012. 4 of the islands are inhabited with most people living on Santa Cruz and San Cristobal. The nature of the Galapagos provides livelihoods based on tourism, fisheries and commerce.
The fast-growing poultry industry on the inhabited islands have been a cause of concern for the conservationists, who fear that the domestic birds could introduce disease into the endemic wild bird population. The most pressing threat to the marine life comes from the local, mainland and foreign fishing targeting the marine life illegally within the reserve, such as sharks for their fins and harvest of sea cucumbers out of the season. The development impacts both the sea life and the land.
So as discussed earlier by my partner Akansha, we are discussing about the environmental threats. So now I would like to highlight a point which took place in Galapagos in 2007. UNESCO put the Galapagos Islands on the list of World Heritage in danger because of threats posed by invasive species, unbridled tourism and the Galapagos Islands from the list because the committee found significant progress has been made by Ecuador in addressing these problems. On 28 January 2008, Galapagos National Park official Victor Carrion announced 53 sea lions, 25 youngsters, 6 females were killed at the Galapagos Islands Nature Reserve on Pinta with their heads caved in. In 2001, poachers killed 35 male sea lions. The Galapagos Islands were shortlisted as a candidate to be one of the new 7 wonders by nature by Natural Foundation. As of February 2009, the archipelago was ranked first in Group B, the category for islands.
The island's biodiversity is under threat from several sources. The human population is growing at a rate of 8% per year. The introduced species have caused damage, and in 1996, a $5 million 5-year eradication plan commenced in an attempt to rid the lands of influenced species such as goats, rats, deers, and donkeys, except for rats. The rats have only been eliminated from the small Galapagos island of Rapito. The El Nino has adversely affected the marine ecosystem. In January 2001, an oil slick from a stranded tanker threatened the islands. but winds and shifting ocean currents helped disperse the oil before damage was done. The devastating El Nino of 1982-83 saw almost 6 times as much rain as normal in the Galapagos and created a wildlife catastrophe. The 1997-1998 El Nino adversely affected wildlife in the waters surrounding the islands as the waters were 5 degrees warmer than normal.
So the another threat witnessed by the Galapagos Islands is illegal fishing. Non-native species and the demands of more than 160,000 tourists each year threaten this irreplaceable ecosystem and the people who depend on it for their food and livelihood. WWF spearheaded conservation efforts in the Galapagos, including funding the construction of the Charles Darwin Research Station. For more than 50 years, we have played an integral role in protecting nature in the Galapagos and all over the world. With our partners, we continue our ambitious conservation work, which is critical to every human, plant and animal on the island. In 1998, the Ecuadorian government enacted the Galapagos Special Law, a legal framework to protect the Galapagos, and created the Galapagos Marine Reserve. WWF supported its establishment and continues to be involved in the management process that helps the reserve succeed. So the another threat witnessed by the Galapagos Islands is illegal fishing. Non-native species and the demands of more than 160,000 tourists each year threaten this irreplaceable ecosystem and the people who depend on it for their food and livelihood. WWF spearheaded conservation efforts in the Galapagos. Another action taken by WWF improved monitoring of the Galapagos Marine Reserve. In the past, the Galapagos National Park struggled to enforce the law that protects the reserve from harming fishing activity. Park managers were faced with high operation costs and inadequate resources to patrol the large marine reserves. WWF, together with key partners, has helped create more efficient ways to monitor vessels in the marine reserve using the latest technology such as satellite, radio and radars. Such systems have been very effective to detecting illegal fishing activities and minimizing the risk of vessel accidents, which could lead to oil spills. We also support training of park wardens on these technologies to better equip them to handle such threats against the reserve national. The WWF has also taken one more effect in charge, that implementing ecotourism. WWF wants to ensure that tourism in Galapagos becomes a tool for conservation and sustainable development. We help the Galapagos to design and implement a new ecotourism-based model to both support conservation and improve people's livelihoods through collaboration with partners, governments and communities. Thank you.
Scientists saving some of the most beautiful creatures on Earth in the Galapagos Islands.
Tonight, the stunning beauty of the Galapagos Islands and what scientists want you to urgently know about the effect climate change is having. First, I come face to face with baby sea lions.
Oh my God, this is so cool.
One of the species most vulnerable to a warming ocean. Life here is dependent on cold water. And currents bring nutrient-rich cold water from Antarctica. But as water warms, that cold water doesn't make it to the surface. And without those nutrients, fish and algae die off, and animals that feed on them face starvation. Back on land, we hike to find marine iguanas. Their population, scientists say, are now becoming a barometer of climate change.
They're perfect environmental indicators. They can tell you how healthy an environment is by looking at their numbers. They specialize in only feeding on green algae. But there's a problem. With the water becoming warmer, the green algae disappears.
96% of the Galapagos Islands are protected by Ecuador's Galapagos Marine Reserve and closely monitored to help conserve the natural habitat.
How many species here are endangered? Most of the populations will have reduced numbers, and this is why it's so important to maintain the Galapagos as a national park, as a protected area. Because when animals are considered endangered, it's because they cannot reproduce well or their habitats are very reduced.
And so let's bring in Amy Robach from the Galapagos Islands tonight. And Amy, I know you're witnessing firsthand so much of the natural beauty there, the most vulnerable species there. And I know there's really an urgent effort to protect it all.
That's right, David. We have been in awe witnessing the unique wildlife and the pristine conditions here in the Galapagos Islands alongside naturalists who work tirelessly to make sure things stay that way. In fact, the government here in recent weeks expanding the Galapagos Marine Reserve by more than 23,000 square miles, David.
A powerful move. Thank you, Amy. We'll be watching GMA first thing in the morning. Good night.